Hey guys, Dr. Mike Dusa, MTFU Longevity Over 50, MTFUcoach.com. How are you? I get sometimes up to 100 emails a day. You know I work with a population of generally men, the age of 50 and over. But I'll help anybody. You know, there's no constraint on anybody I'll talk to or try to counsel or offer information to or direct in the right way. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction, which is what I'm going to address right now, you know, there's a particular audience who's interested in this information. There are causes and there are sometimes panaceas. I don't really like the word cure, but there are corrections. The solution to every problem exists, and hopefully you can find yours. The causes of erectile dysfunction. One of the big ones, alcohol. You know, you start with a beer, and then you have two, and then you have a bunch, and then you mix in some whiskey, and you get something that's actually named in the clinical literature as whiskey dick. What happens is the clothes come off with the lady of the night and you, and nothing happens after that. You can't get an erection. Well, there's a few reasons why when it comes to alcohol. Number one, the alcohol affects an area in your brain that tells you that you want to have sex. That's turned off, and you're not sensitive to any of the stimulatories that might be presented to you. That's number one. Number two, you know that alcohol dehydrates, and if your blood volume is low, considerably low, like what can happen when you drink a lot, remember, an erection is engorgement of blood to the corpus cavernosum of the penis, and you're not going to get that. There's not enough blood volume to a certain effect for that to happen. And finally, one of the hormones that's secreted via alcohol, in this case not in a friendly way, angiotensin is a hormone that's secreted, and that's not conducive to getting erections either. So if you drink, obviously you're gonna have a hard time getting an erection, and you know, some people think that that's actually going to help. You know, people think that, but it won't. Another interesting causatory is anger, and you've heard me talk about anger. You know, I posed this question in the past in one of the forums. If you were to choose one of the two, anger or melancholy, which would be more effective for you? I always say anger. Anger for me, I can wield that in a well-circumscribed way to get things done. Melancholy keeps you in bed and makes you sad, and you don't do anything. It's not really very effective. But anger is good for the short term. It helps you run across the street fast enough to get away from somebody. It helps you get out of a job you don't like. It helps you get through a hard workout. But chronic, long, low-level terms of ruminating anger, you've had them for so long you may not even know you're angry any longer. You just are, and that's just how you are. Is not helpful for getting erections, and there's a few reasons why. Over the long term, the adrenal glands, which are above each kidney, when we're talking long-term anger, they do secrete into the bloodstream two things. They secrete cortisol and adrenaline. Now, cortisol is not a friendly hormone in this case. The cortisol and the adrenaline acting together, the cortisol causes the liver to secrete sugar into the bloodstream, but not in an even way. Remember, we're talking long term, and there's fluctuations in blood sugar over the long term, and this leads to eating binges. You end up getting obese or overweight because of this little chain reaction, and it starts with the anger. We also know, as we've discussed in the past, and I'll touch upon even more so in a moment, that high levels of body weight or obesity decrease your levels of testosterone, which will also make it difficult to get erections. Now, the adrenaline over the long term causes constriction of the blood vessels to get really tiny, and it's difficult for the fluids to get through there. And what do we say about getting erections? Erection is an engorgement of blood into the corpus cavernosum once again. And if you're getting constricted vessels throughout the body, you're not going to get enough blood down there. So again, these two things in unison, you're not going to get erections when you're always angry. Another interesting factor here is when you have the high blood sugar, you have the constricted vessels, you will develop a cardiovascular disease. You will develop heart problems. You could develop diabetes. And let's say you develop those things, but you get rid of the anger. You undergo counseling. You get on some medications. You're no longer an angry person. You're stuck with those other three, the host of other dysfunctions, which also cause erectile dysfunction. So you may have that forever, and you may have to have surgical, medicinal, pharmacological intervention, psychogenic, whatever it might be. You're going to have to do quite a few different things, and that's all from just being angry. So work on that. Keep going to work out. I mean, Lord knows if I don't work out, I mean, I have some anger in my nature, so it probably fuels me through some pretty good workouts. Self-image. I mentioned here 3.5 years was my record as a man for going without any type of sexual relations with a woman. And this occurred when I was between the ages of 26 and 20, almost 30. Crushed my leg. I had a host of terrible injuries. You've heard this story many times. I blew up to 250 pounds, probably about 60 pounds overweight. I was on crutches for 3.5 years. I had a morphine catheter implanted in my spine, into which I injected morphine, xylocaine, and some other goodies, all prescribed, into my spine 6 times a day for years. Did I have the opportunity with any women? Look, I looked so bad. I mean, I lost my hair from the drugs I was doing. You would not have recognized me. My self-esteem was destroyed. So I never even got that far, but my body was not a haven to produce the desired effect anyhow. In fact, I would be smitten with most of these problems that I just mentioned. The overweightedness. I think my triglycerides were in the 1,000 level. Normal level is like 100. My cholesterol was in the 300s. I was just a sorry sack of flabby sadness. Along with that is self-esteem, and that's another issue that affects your ability to get erections. Look, when I was in that state, it became a race when I took a shower to dry off quick enough, and I'm not kidding, dry off quick enough so I can get out of the bathroom before the mirror would defog, because I could not see myself. I did not want to see myself. So how can I take my clothes off for another person? What a time. One of the best things about that is I hardly remember any of it. Drugs prescribed will do that for you. I think I touched upon everything. And your general health, if you just have bad, crappy, shitty health, which, look, we go to the mall, I shop at Walmart. I don't, obviously we're not politically correct here. I don't see any healthy looking people. You're destroying yourself with diabetes, high blood pressure, atherosclerotic changes to your blood vessels, plaquing, not to mention injuries you may have suffered, the medications you're taking. You're numb to everything. You're lucky there's any blood flowing anywhere in your body. So my suggestion, and especially when I talk to a lot of the guys I consult with, get your blood panels done, see where everything stands, see where your testosterone levels are, get your head checked out, clean yourself up. It's up to you. Your solution exists. I know that's not a lot to go on. You may message me if you have any specific questions. You may want to send me a personal message, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter to me. We're all about truth here. I try to find the truth and offer it to you or discover it from you. But in any event, erectile dysfunction, you're not alone anymore, and your solution exists. And as always, please leave your thoughts, suggestions, considerations down below, because they are my oxygen, and I do thank you. Please visit MTFU Longevity Over 50, my YouTube channel, and subscribe, or visit www.mtfucoach.com. And I do thank you. Have a good night.